Welcome to Vermintide 2, the game where rat.
Wood.
Zoe. No.
Look, I'm just saying, give this Skaven a bath. I'm in.
My old furry bait aside, Vermintide 2 is a member of the Warhammer cooperative horde shooter subgenre. Maybe you've heard of it. Except this entry is less of a shooter and more of a slasher with heavier hordes, mandatory melee, and only a few select characters having guns. These aren't even your standard firearms. These are your great-great-grandpappy's Gettysburg revolvers with a barrel count equal to their ammo capacity. Yes, these guns were real, and yes, I am still upset that we never see niche weapons in our games. If I don't see a fully functional lantern shield soon, I'm going to lose my mind. But that's not why we're here. We're here to exterminate anything vaguely resembling rodents or Kratos, and we best not dally. The more time we waste, the more the tides of vermin will roll in. The tsunami of Skaven lapping at our doors is a rather omnipresent threat, so we better grab the only remaining humans that can complete a sentence and take stock of the Uberschreck 5.
At least I don't have tentacles.
Give it time.
Marcus Kruber is probably the best person you can meet in this cast. He's not a psychotic rat and doesn't want to stab you in your sleep. The cast of Vermintide aren't great people. But at least Kruber's got a good personality and a sick mustache to back it up.
Marcus. Surely a mercenary knows a lost cause when he sees one.
Yeah, I do. You shouldn't put yourself down. I'm sure you're doing your best.
Marcus Kruber is the heart of gold at the center of this team, or at the forefront, providing buffs for his allies and holding back swarms of Skaven. Mercenary embodies this sentiment by having passives around cleaving through foes, and his active both restore temp HP to his allies and kneecap his enemies. Stand the fuck up. In contrast, Huntsman stays in the back and snipes from afar. His primary passive lets every headshot refund its ammo, providing the most powerful ammo recovery if you can land your shots. Oh my god. His active sends Kruber into stealth mode, skulking away from enemies and gaining several bonuses to his ranged capabilities. However, staying alive when the chaos encroaches is rather difficult as a ranged career. Oh my god, that's a rat.
Me halfway through fighting a massive Skaven horde. Oh my god, that's a rat.
Luckily, Foot Knight is here to protect the weak and bulldoze the opposition.
Did you have like a war axe, Shadow?
Yeah, I have a halberd.
Holy sh!
I saved you.
Why did he just
got
walk
you.
up like that?
Foot Knight has multiple damage resistance passives. Foot Knight has multiple damage resistance passives, one of which spreads to his allies. But the main appeal of this occupation is Valiant Charge. Me. Foregoing your life expectancy, you can charge headfirst through every rat and warrior you see, clotheslining the entire battalion. This knocks them down, providing the perfect opportunity for you to do some sweeping. Is that too much AoE for you? Do you want to add some single target damage to your infinite Sparta kick? Well, fret not, for you can use anything that isn't your melee while you're charging. Drink a potion, throw a bomb, or bore a hole through your enemies while flattening them. Alright, I think that's enough time dedicated to being biased towards Marcus. Let's move on to the other characters.
Real Knight doesn't get a ranged weapon is the main downside.
That's a plus in my book, baby!
If you like that idea, put your money where your mouth is. I don't want to put my $2 where my mouth is.
Opting to bring 2 sets of melee weapons, Grail Knight revels in the glory of melee combat. He deals more damage to the first victim of every swing, is faster than your average bear,
Hey guy, what are you doing? Okay.
and can use his shield to block fire. And that doesn't even cover the godly magic imbued within. Calling upon the Lady of the Lake, you summon a holy blade to smite your foes. It is a heavy attack, it will always crit, and it cannot be blocked.
I bonked him.
Nothing will stop your divine execution. And that's not all your deity grants you. Being such a devout follower and taking care of her rat problem, the Lady of the Lake has granted you one other divine gift. Side quests! Whenever you enter a mission, you will be provided a crusading quota. Once the word of your goddess has been properly spread, you and your allies will gain bonuses depending on the quest. Religious conquest has never been more rewarding. Bardin Gorkason is the obligatory dwarf in this fantasy setting. He both embodies their Viking inspiration and the ingenuity of dwarves with an unhealthy mix of aggressively melee or overly ranged. Despite the stereotype of dwarves being big burly boys, his first career, Ranger Veteran, immediately breaks that mold. Near all his passives are range oriented, with one of them causing mini ammo drops whenever someone fells a special enemy. He also has a chance to not consume items for some reason. His active ability, Disengage, throws a smoke bomb at the ground that grants you stealth, increases your range damage, and staggers enemies encroaching on you. On top of that, while you're concealed, your range attacks penetrate even the toughest of armor. That experience comes from being on the opposite side of the volley. Ironbreaker is the most resilient career of any character. Your passive defense is higher than any tank. You gain the most blocking power, your stun duration is decreased, and every 20 seconds you just refuse to be damaged. But that's not all. You know how to put this resilience to use. Your active ability taunts anything smaller than a Volkswagen, on top of increasing your resilience again and letting you block without consequence. But sometimes Bardin doesn't want to be the stalwart defender. Sometimes he wants to let loose. Slayer forgoes that defensive training and uses your dwarven might to behead your adversaries. Your attacks are faster, they cannot be stopped, and the more you kill, the harder you hit. The problem is that your rage makes you fail at trigger discipline, so you lack ranged weapons. But that's not going to stop you. Unleashing the full might of your dwarven fury sends you careening forward, stunning enemies hit and granting you even faster melee strikes. But all that blood and violence is a little too much for you. You want to step away from berserking and focus on your true calling. Outcast Engineer is the DLC career for Bardin, seeing him fulfill his dream of rock and stoning with the gunner mains. He has increased ammo and ranged power, as well as being able to carry more bombs. But the crux of the Outcast is his steam-assisted crank gun.
Mine's better. Get out of here, dork.
This pubescent state between Gatling and minigun uses gears and pressure to onslaught your enemies. You can wield your weapon at any time, expending charge with every shot. Sending Shinji to
Crank that, soldier boy.
increases your pressure and replenishes your ammunition.
I'm gonna crank my hog. Hold on.
Avoid overheating and evade attacks to keep the carnage flowing. Carillion is the resident leaf lover, shooting arrows, hugging trees, and doing whatever else knife ears do.
You call yourself Archer?
She is exceedingly patronizing, viewing the cast as toddlers and age-shaming by calling them mayflies. She is also exceedingly skilled in combat and a one in a Carillion when it comes to her eyesight. Waystalker uses this gift to heighten her ranged prowess. Her effective range is doubled, and her vision narrows when holding a shot. On top of that, she can curve her arrows wanted style and land several mighty blows with a single shot. To compensate for all the arrows she'll volley, Carillion has brought an extra quiver for good measure. Also, I guess the herbal medicine she calls wine is actually of some use since she passively regenerates health when below half. Okay, I'll stop insulting the wood elf. Carillion is the only character that has any form of healer abilities, and we're in no position to be picky. Handmaiden is a career with one such ability. She has some frontliner spice in this career, like bonuses to blocking and dodge distance, as well as a swift dash for flanking and escaping. But the healer perk I alluded to is a noteworthy deviation from that theme. You can revive people twice as fast. On top of that, doing so will heal them for 20 HP. It's not exactly the grandest support ability, but this is Vermintide. Beggars can't be choosers. She could always go Shade and leave your corpse behind. Shade is the stealthy rogue stab career that 90% of D&D players have already played in their first campaign. You are all about the sneaky backstab and dealing absurd amounts of damage. You crit more, deal double damage from behind, and can instantly bisect most enemies with a critical backstab at maximum force. Sure, the insta-kill only works on a critical backstab, but if you perform it while cloaked, your attacks will always crit. You can dip into stealth by dodging after performing a parry, but your superior stealth is from your active. Infiltrate turns you into a wraith, being unnoticed and unencumbered by enemies for 5 seconds.
I'm scared of no ghosts. Yeah.
Not only does she benefit from her other stealth bonuses, but she also deals even more damage. Although she can only use one attack during this time, you know it's going to count. Sister of the Thorns is Carillion's DLC class, and another instance of her being the vaguest idea of a healer. She has a passive ability that literally just increases healing received by the party by 25%. Despite this hands-off healing, she does have more team-oriented abilities in her kit. The poison she inflicts increases damage taken. She summons a spiky wall to funnel the waves better. She can summon the wall for free every 60 seconds, and if your team uses your passive well, you gain all the temporary HP that might be wasted from people healing past maximum. Oh yeah, and there's magic now, no biggie. Victor Saltzpyre fills the role of the fencing one-eyed pilgrim zealot, a staple of all classic fantasy team-ups. With a sword in one hand and infinite flintlocks in the other, our battle pilgrim, witch hunter captain, will devastate the battlefield with bonus crits and lethal headshots. Important to note, combining those two flavors of extra damage will execute most enemies. The game uses man-sized for traits like this, but that's uber wrong, so I've just been saying most.
Need me something man-sized for real.
But the wackiness doesn't stop there. Using his fencing prowess, he can deflect all light attacks when blocking, preventing stamina drain. And that still isn't the end of his passives. Witch Hunt makes it so that any enemy pinged by your team— why does Docs want to autocorrect that to pegged? Is marked for your slaughter. You deal even bonus or damage to that enemy with a 20% increase, and that still isn't even the end of Witch Hunter Captain.
Ping him. Bonus damage. Yell at him. Bonus damage. Rattling gunner. What the f—
Whoa! Animosity is your active, letting you unleash a hearty shout and increasing crit chance for you and your allies. Now anything unfortunate enough to have a neck won't be burdened by it much longer.
I'm dead.
Bounty Hunter, despite appearing ready for a jousting match, is the ranged savant in Saltzpyre's roster. You get your standard bonuses like increased ammo and reload speed, but your extra spicy passive is a guaranteed range crit every 10 seconds. Perhaps that doesn't sound too enticing, until you realize that it applies to one instance of pulling the trigger. His active ability is rather spicy as well. Donning your blessed flintlock, you unleash a devastating array of projectiles that smite anything in your way and pierces through the horde with ease. And that's not the only blessing he's received. Zealot is the hold W and mouse 1 career for Saltzpyre, and for all who are not versed in ancient vernacular, Zealot means simp in Greek. Calling upon the power of Sigmar, you are an unstoppable force on the battlefield. Your heavy attacks cannot be halted, and neither can you, with increasing power as your health decreases, along with the ability to refuse to die. You straddle the line between life and death to the dismay of any adversaries you may face. Oh, are they showing cowardice? Well, the gap they're maintaining is about to be closed. Like the other characters, you have a charge that you can use firearms and items in. What makes yours special is an increase to your attack speed for religious berserking action, though your belief runs deeper than mere melee enhancements. Warrior Priest of Sigmar puts your faith to good use. Your attacks are empowered against most enemies, and the vanquishing of your foes can further increase your capabilities. But you have defense as well. 20% of the damage you take is converted to damage over time that physically cannot kill you. On top of that, your holy devotion protects you from the adverse effects of curses. Now you can handle the demonic manifestation of the grimoires without downsides. But that isn't the end of your resilience. Using Shield of Faith guards you or an ally from any damage for 5 seconds before detonating in an area around it. With all this divine flair and an insistence on using exclusively melee weapons, nothing can stop this Sigmar male. Sienna Fuego Nasus is the one character that expresses magical talent in all her careers, and if you couldn't tell due to the subtle art of foreshadowing, her talents are rather incendiary. Don't look at that. Going into Sienna, be careful not to overload. The more magic you use, the more labored your swings, and don't ask what happens when reaching your limit.
Does base Sienna die when her ship overloads?
Yes. Has that not happened to you yet?
Well, I've been being careful.
I see. Smart.
Uh-oh.
Now that you're properly traumatized, let's get into the most spell-focused career. Battle Wizard has increased damage to your ranged attacks, as well as increasing your casting speed the higher your damage meter is. However, fret not about overheating, for taking a break from spellcasting will increase your ventilation of magical energy. And if the rats get too close or you want to dive in for some reason, Firewalk teleports you forward, leaving a burning trail behind you and charred corpses in your wake. Pyromancer decides to use your overcharged energy to your advantage. The higher your overcharged level, the higher your crit chance becomes. To facilitate this better, your range damage is increased, your overcharge meter is longer, and being too hot to handle no longer slows you down. But with all this crit chance buildup, how are you to use it? Well, your active ability, simply called the Burning Head, launches a homing projectile that bestows the dead status effect on your foes. Unchained is the inevitable fate of Sienna after succumbing to her magic, both in lore and in practice. She is no longer burdened by the slowdown of overcharge, and the higher her meter, the more melee power she wields. She doesn't even need to manage her spells to achieve this. Half of the damage she receives is converted into overcharge, fueling her onslaught and keeping her in one piece. But what about overloading? Well, Living Bomb allows you to trigger the explosion on purpose. The blast has the normal effect of vaporizing anything around you, with the added bonus of not tearing you asunder to achieve this. Be sure to vent often, for overloading the normal way will still turn your skeleton into shrapnel. And lastly, we have Necromancer. Dipping her toes into even more forbidden magic than she already has, Sienna harnesses the dark arts to summon. She can guide them around, set up barricades, and even shatter them to ventilate overcharge. But why would you do that when you can have your undead entourage just damage things for you? And you may want that increased damage, because every time you get a kill, your crit chance increases. Speaking of increased damage, your flames now burn with a chilling necrotic energy, sapping the strength of your foes, causing them to take 20% more damage from you or your goons. Chill out, I'm using this definition. And to make those freezing flames pack the punch they need to, the damage is dealt over twice the time. The damage of a single shot will still be the same, but the longer duration gives you ample opportunity to pummel your opponents and their weakened flesh. And there you have it, the mystical exterminators of Vermintide 2. The cast is diverse and the weapons are more so. Just try not to get too excited about the enemies you'll be facing.
I can do this one-handed, don't even worry about it.
What are you doing with your other hand? Have the rats gotten to you? I thought that was Zoe's shtick.
What the fuck, AJ?
Thank you all so much for watching, and since 'tis the season, I have a special gift for you to round out the year. Behold, the live channel! I already have VODs there, such as the entire Soma playthrough, the Tower Challenge and Satisfactory, and my Trauma and Voices the Void. I'll try to multi-stream there as well, but my PC might strangle me for it. Oh, and special thanks to our devout followers and all their monetary donations. Go with Sigmar's blessings, and I'll see you with the...
We are experiencing technical issues. There is no cause for alarm. Please be at ease.